Hey, it's Brad Hildebrand. I'm back again. I'm one of the pod jocks here at Podcaster, PODCASTRR. You can listen online. It's a real live radio station. We broadcast it on the air and over the internet at podcaster.fm. Here is John Combest, an interesting guy who is a former comms guy for a Fortune 100 company who for the past 21 years, every single day, has never missed a day in the past 21 years, has put together an update on all the political news that's been going on in the state of Missouri. Here's John Combest.
You want me to tell you how I found out about you?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear it.
One day, my co-host on BS. Show, Shelley Barr, said to me, I went to a meeting today, and one of the speakers said that if you want to know what's going on in politics in the state of Missouri, you need to find this website. And I go, what website would that be? And she says, johncombest.com. And I go, johncombest.com? Who's that? It's you.
That's quite flattering. Thank you, Brad. I'm glad. And thanks to Shelley, by the way, who I'm sure is listening to this. Thanks to Shelley for passing that along, and whoever the original speaker was.
Explain what johncombest.com is.
Back in 2001, I created a website. Many people who lived through the early 2000s will remember there was a really popular national website called the Drudge Report.
Right.
And I was in college in the late 1990s, and I lived by the Drudge Report. And I just wanted there to be a version of that for the state of Missouri. So it's really simple. And, the idea in politics is there's no such thing as a new idea. So I thought, why isn't anybody doing this for the state of Missouri? So around at the end of 2000, I was working as a very low-level, entry-level staffer for Senator John Ashcroft at the time. I had a brief and undistinguished career in government. And I bought the domain name of my own name, just johncombest.com. And then I updated it a few times. And then in October of 2001, I started updating it daily. And I just kept going. I compare it to Forrest Gump in the movie when he just starts running and never stops. So I update it, every day, 365 days a year. I don't take days off. And I deliver Missouri political news headlines to, folks who are interested in state government or what our federal elected officials are doing in D.C.
So you're telling me for 21 years, every single day you do this? Every single day?
Yeah, I don't take days off.
Since 2001.
I've been blessed to be able to have internet access in all corners of the United States if I'd be traveling for work. I've updated the site from, an airport in Hong Kong, Thailand, you name it, where I've been, Germany. I do it every day, and I do it for people who really care about Missouri politics.
Now, what's fascinating to me is, you mentioned the thing about Drudge. Essentially, Drudge is what they call a aggregator website.
Right. Yep.
He's an aggregation website.
Mm-hmm.
What he does is he essentially lists all these different stories you could look at, which is what you do.
That's exactly
and essentially
right.
You go in and you say, Governor Parson said this today. Click here for the link. Or it doesn't say click. You just click on the link and it takes you to whatever that story was.
That's it. It's a very bare bones website, and the idea when I created it too was just I wanted something that was fast loading. For those of us who were probably over the age of 20, there used to be a thing where pages would take a little while to load. So I wanted to have no graphics. And it's funny, I took a really useful class in college, which was on HTML design. And it's funny when you look back at some classes, like keyboarding was probably the best class that I took in high school because I actually learned how to type pretty quickly. But I took an HTML web design class in college. And when I realized that you could update a website and boom, right away, it would be on the net for everybody to see. I was just fascinated by that.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I just talked about this morning on my other show, BS. Show with Shelley Barr. The two most influential classes I took in my undergrad or in high school were typing and driver's ed because
absolutely,
I do both of them every day. You know what I mean?
And maybe my entry-level shop class.
Right, exactly. So how do you get all this information? I mean, at any point in time, people can go on there, johncombest.com. Yep. How do you find out all these things?
After doing the site for so long, for 21 years, pretty much for every news source in the state of Missouri, I know where their information about state government is located on their website. One of the interesting things about as we get into AI and we get into machine learning and things, there are so many websites in so many industries that are completely automated. And the idea of having a human being curate a set of links or a set of headlines and use their own discretion for what's important and what's not just based on keywords, I think is something that people appreciate.
I just got turned on one. I'm going to look at my phone here real quick. I got turned on to one of them a couple weeks ago. I've been fascinating. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. It's called Chat. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, Chat GPT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
so I'm not an expert on this technology. I was blessed for a long time I worked for 12 and a half years at Monsanto. Many people from here in St. Louis will recognize Monsanto. And then the company was acquired by Bayer. But I had the opportunity toward the end of my time to work with folks that worked in machine learning and AI, and to learn how those technologies can work, even in things like plant breeding and agriculture, and the things that AI is able to do in terms of spitting out information is fascinating. Again, it goes back to, you could have, and Brad, you've lived through this in the radio industry, you could have an automated voice tell you what traffic is like, but it would tell you that things are backed up on Gravois and Bellefontaine
right.
and River Des Perez. But it wouldn't be able to tell but it wouldn't be able to give you any kind of context of what that means for people in St. Louis.
Or now a traffic reporter who is doing it from another city, who is a live person.
And weather as well, right?
It doesn't know.
That's certainly on the corporate side, and I'll speak out of both sides of my mouth here. As a former corporate guy, there are certainly advantages of anonymizing it, and folks know that Brad refers to it as McRadio all the time.
Right.
The kind of the generic thing that goes on. But again, it goes back to folks who've gone to my website. There are folks that go to the website today that weren't born when I created the website. And there's a lot of people who don't know. This sounds very self-indulgent, by the way, Brad, but there's a lot of people who don't know what Missouri news in the political realm was before my website. It used to be you had to read 30 different papers a day and watch 5 different television stations to know what was happening in the Capitol. And thanks to the internet and this technology now, obviously, it's very simple.
So you're a pioneer.
I was probably the first person to amalgamate and aggregate stories in Missouri. I don't know if I'd call myself a pioneer, but if you say that, Brad, I wouldn't argue with it.
You know what the definition, at least my definition of pioneer is, don't you?
What's that?
Someone who's found face down in the dirt with an arrow in their back.
Well, there's been plenty of arrows slung over the years. That's for
pioneer.
Sure.
John, the website is?
JohnCombest.com. My name is spelled JohnCombest.
Simple as that. John, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad.
That is John Combest at johncombest.com. That's Combest. Every single day, he hasn't missed a day for 21 years. He puts together a website that gives all the information on what's going on in the state of Missouri politically. I'm Brad Hildebrand. More podcasts are coming up next right here on Podcaster.